Michigan bullied and exposed by Boomer Sooner. That and more next on this week's episode of Michigan Podcast.
There's going to be one team that's going to play solely as a team. No man is more important than the team. No coach is more important than the team. The team, the team, the team.
Looks deep for Anthony Clark. Waits for it. Hit. Caught.
Hey, they said you can't be Ohio State. Now what?
Brady gets terrific. Throws it, get it, touchdown, Knight again. Schultz just before Brazil got him, and a leaping interception by Woodson.
Harbaugh back to throw over the middle, caught by Collier at the 5 on his feet, touchdown Michigan. On its way. It's good.
He's 5'7", 179 pounds, a junior at Michigan. But Jamie Morris packs a wallop, and he delivers for Bo Schembechler.
And here's your first play. Pressure coming. Sack. It is Glenn Steele, number 81, who fought his way through the traffic.
Option. And Robinson calls his own number, and he's going to score. Oh, an easy touchdown for Robinson and Michigan.
We're going to win it. We're going to win the championship again because we're going to play as a team. And when we play as a team and the old season is over, you and I know it's going to be Michigan again. Michigan.
Go Blue, I'm Steve Deace. Welcome to this week's episode of Michigan Podcast. And hey, this was the kind of game in a way I always expected Oklahoma was going to go. It was one of the two losses I gave Michigan going into the year. I thought for sure that this would just be too big of a stage for a true freshman quarterback. And those things revealed themselves. So I don't want to overreact to something I predicted for 5 months was going to happen. But something did happen in this game that I would have never predicted, and that has me on the brink of doing my typical overreact. Michigan just got its ass kicked. I mean, just absolutely physically bullied, mauled, emasculated. There's some film there I would urge you not to watch. If you are, you and your wife are at a stage of life right now where you're trying to get pregnant, don't watch Nathanophobia and Greg Krippenblock. Don't do that. That would be a bad life choice. I mean, there's one whiff that Nathanophobia's whiff was so bad. Graham Glasgow called and said, I think I played better against the Packers. There's one moment where I literally watched Greg Crippen get picked up and thrown down on the ground. He is a fifth-year senior center at the University of Michigan, and it was like an Aerosmith ragdoll video. The interior of our offensive line just got absolutely mauled. And much of our team got bullied as well. In ways, it's been many a moon since I can recall something like this. Pre-COVID, maybe the D'Antonio era, the peak D'Antonio era at Michigan State, when we're out apologizing, for wanting to beat them. And D'Antonio just made us his pet. That was just an emasculating effort. More Michigan players. I've never seen a Michigan team with as many guys banged up heading into a game in week two, as we saw this week. And then the amount of guys who left early, banged up. I'm just going to tell you right now, the JV team with JV with the number one recruit is who's playing next week against Central. The amount of guys who are going to sit, aren't going to play, banged up, they're going to try to rest because pretty much the season's on the line against Nebraska, at least from a playoff standpoint. That was stunning to see. And it's probably why I didn't have my normal in-game histrionics when things are going bad, but it was just a very sober nihilism because it was just very clear they were just way more man than us. And they're way tougher, way more physical, way more disciplined, way more savage. Michigan was physically never in this game. Never. And the only reason Michigan kind of got to hang around for as long as we did is Oklahoma drop a punt here, overthrow a guy by 10 yards there, that kind of stuff. Really just not even forced errors, unforced errors by Oklahoma. Otherwise, if Oklahoma plays a more efficient game, this one's 31-7, 38-7, and we're all sitting here saying, like we just heard Carl Lewis try to sing the national anthem. That one is going to be a tough comeback, if you ask me, because there's a crack here in the foundation on offense. And the defense wasn't great, but if we had any modicum of an offense, then we at least would have been with the ball and a chance to, win the game at the end. In today's college football, there's going to be 2 or 3 defenses a year that are going to be able to hold real offenses with quarterbacks that good to 24 points or less. That's just not the way the game is structured today. It's an offensive game. And we're going to still be pretty good on defense, but we're not going to be special like that. That's just not who we are. But that was still good enough to win. I wasn't ecstatic about the defense, but it was, with a better than average offense, that would have been good enough to win. We're not even better than average on offense. Now, we're not as bad as we were last year because we at least do have some guys like Justice Haynes and Donovan McCulley who can make plays downfield that really nobody on our team could make last year. But the structure of the offense, show me all you want against New Mexico at home. But when you go on the road and you play a team that can punch back, that's some truth serum right there, my friends. And what I saw was an offense that had no idea what it wanted to do, what it was trying to do, who it was trying to set up, what it was trying to be. I screamed the entire first half when we couldn't block these guys. We either need to let Bryce throw the ball down the field or we should go jumbo and even up the numbers and just try to grind out 3 yards at a time, and then we can maybe run some play action off that later in the game. Well, lo and behold, we come out in the second half, and they come out with jumbo and go 75 yards on the first play. So, of course, we barely saw that formation the rest of the game, because why not? Why not? I want to yell at Chip Lindsey, but I'm not entirely sure it's his fault. In fact, the more people I talk to who know ball, they seem to indicate we're not even running his offense. That Sherone Moore's handprints and fingerprints are all over this. So, again, we'll find out the next 2 weeks when he's not coaching the team if that's true. But offensively, they got to figure something out, and they got to figure it out real quick. And to me, the one thing they need to figure out is the role Bryce Underwood is going to play in this offense. And Michigan very quickly has to commit to making him more of a focal point of the offense or not. Because this is now on tape what Oklahoma did. And everybody who matters that we play the rest of the year is going to try to do exactly this until we show we can beat it. So how to beat this, right? How to beat this. It involves your quarterback, and Michigan's going to have to either let him throw the ball down the field more on early downs, or they're going to have to incorporate him into the running game more so that we have an extra blocker and now the numbers are in our favor in the box. There's no way out of this. Not with this offensive line, the way it's constructed. There is no way out of this other than we trust Bryce Underwood a hell of a lot more than we currently are. There's just no way out. There's just no way out of this. And if I hear one more time, well, we can't run the quarterback until we have a second one. Who the hell is the backup quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, or the Buffalo Bills? Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson ran the bowels out of the ball on Sunday Night Football, man, with 17 weeks still to go. Those are billion-dollar quarterbacks. One of those guys gets banged up or hurt, their franchise season is over. People losing jobs, fired, season's over. Their coaches didn't coach scared. I would actually argue it is safer to run Bryce at 6'4", 230 pounds, where he's the one delivering the blow, than have him just be a sitting duck behind that sieve of an offensive line where he's on the receiving end of the blow. But that's just me. And this strange mixture at Michigan at times when things are not going well between the hubris of, well, we're Michigan, and then petrified fear of everything has to be risk aversion. Well, which is it? Do we have Michigan swagger, or do we have to put a condom on it and practice safe football? Which one is it? And this is the no man's land we were in throughout a lot of Brady Hoke era, at times under Jimmy, particularly in the middle years. And this is where we're at already in year 2 under Sherone. Except now you pay $10 million for a quarterback. Now, don't sign that guy if you're not going to, what's the Ryan Van Bergen line? I heard him on the Wolverines say, it's like we bought a Ferrari and took it to a tractor pull. Dead money, homie. Right on the money. Don't sign that guy and pay him the money unless you're going to give him the keys to the car. If you want to run the old Michigan system, then get the same kind of quarterback. Go get your, Jake Rudock, Cade McNamara. Go get your Miller Moss. Run your stuff. Run your power, your pin and pull, run all that stuff. Run your play action off that. First one to 24 wins. But that's not the quarterback we got. And given the amount of money we all know you paid for him, recruits are watching that. And that was just very, very disheartening. On one level, I want to give him a mulligan. Because it is not easy just to turn that much of an offense over to a freshman. And maybe you thought, legitimately, you could come in here. Oklahoma had some questions on the offensive line. They ran the ball for barely 2 yards a carry against Illinois State, right? And maybe you thought you could grind it out. I don't have a problem with that game plan going in. Let's just get in here, see if we can come out here, win 20-17 or something and get home and just keep, developing at our own pace. I don't have a problem with thinking that going into the game. But clearly by the end of the first quarter, that was not going to happen. And Michigan just never really adjusted, never really wanted to. And here's really the coaching malfeasance of it beyond the result of the game. Until the end of the game, until the last game of the year, all our big games are on the road. Michigan State's on the road. USC's on the road. Nebraska's on the road. This was on the road. We need to see what the kid can do on the road. And this was actually the game to do it because it's not a conference game. It's kind of a freebie. We have no idea what he does and doesn't like in these road settings. What'll calm him down, what won't. So in 2 weeks when we go to Nebraska, we're back to square zero. We're back to ground zero, square one, all over again. So just a wasted opportunity to truly test his mettle and see what he's got and what he can do. And now we're going to have to do it in games that do count more than the others, and those are the conference games. So I thought coaching malpractice and malfeasance across the board for Michigan, but particularly on offense, and then the structure of how we approach the game, and that all comes from the head coach. So we have Central Michigan this week. There's nothing to really glean from this. It beat them 50-0. It won't change a single thing that Nebraska does or doesn't do in its game plan. Because the Huskers are going to say, well, yeah, we saw that against New Mexico too, and then we saw y'all pucker against Oklahoma on the road. So we're going to gamble that you're going to do that again, and we're pretty confident that you will. So here come more 8- and 9-man fronts. How you like them apples? That's what's going to happen. And even if Central Michigan tries it and we block it, it doesn't count because we block Central Michigan. All right, should be able to do that with half our brain tied behind our back. So we're going to see the exact same game and same game plan against Nebraska that we saw against Oklahoma in 2 weeks, and it'll just be a matter of whether Michigan's adjusted and thinks it can handle it or not. This game is really just about don't get any more people hurt, and you're going to see a skeleton crew play this game. Get used to some names you haven't heard before because they're going to rest quite a few guys because quite a few guys are beaten up because we got bullied. Folks, the best way to support us here at Michigan Podcast is to do so via our Patreon page, patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. We are posting picks there year round, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's college basketball, whether it's the NFL, and of course, college football. Our win total best bets, you would have gotten those, for example, before the market moved. About half the books in the last few days moved on Texas under 10.5 down to 9.5. If you were following us on Patreon when we posted that, you would have gotten that before that number moved, right? So we give you all kinds of great data and picks, PGA major picks as well. We've cashed 8 of the last 11 majors in professional golf. So if you want to support us on our Patreon page, it's just $10 a month there at patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. That's right, just $10 a month. Patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. That's patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. And thank you so very much if you're one of our supporters already. All right, let's find out what Mark Rogers, our one and only token Bucknut friend, has to think about what happened over the weekend. So, Mark, I just kind of laid out for everybody in a little more detail now that I've had a chance to examine more, see more of the game, and watch some more analysis from what we said in our instant reaction. I actually feel worse. I think, and this time last year, you and everybody I knew was telling me to calm down. It was just one game after Fresno State. I said, we have no playable quarterback on the roster. If that's the best we have for 9 months of preparation, a playable quarterback does not exist. My concern is, number one, physically, that's the most beat up I've seen Michigan be in years, many years, certainly pre-COVID. In fact, I'm not sure. I don't know, like Jimmy's first year with JT Barrett and Ezekiel Elliott kind of stuff. It's just, there were teams at Ohio State that you guys had that just ran us off the field with speed at receiver we couldn't cover in Don Brown's defense. But we were just mauled. The amount of guys we already had banged up and injured coming in, apparently it was very taxing to play New Mexico, I guess. The amount of guys we had banged up and injured, walk away, leave early in this game. We're going to play with a shell of a squad. It'll be a JV team against Central Michigan on Saturday. They're going to hold everybody out, and a lot of guys won't be able to go. We were just physically manhandled on the offensive line was. The defensive line got a stalemate from what a lot of people thought was a questionable offensive line. So to me, that's a manhandling. And then I'm not sure to this moment, I still don't know what we were trying to do on offense. A completely different scheme set up from what we saw week one. I have no idea what it was even attempting to do, trying to do, setting anything up. We have some athletes, so we're getting like random big plays, but there's no semblance of a scheme whatsoever. We were just never physically even in this game. The score was way misleading. Oklahoma just literally dropped a punt. Mateer overthrew a guy by 10 yards who was wide open. Those are the things that kept us in the game. But if Oklahoma operates more efficiently, this looks more like 31-7 or something like that. I think you need to completely reevaluate your expectations for Michigan after this game. I think it's very clear that they do not want to create an offense commensurate with the kind of quarterback they had, or at least not yet. Maybe they want to, but they just don't think he's ready yet. And so we're really in this no man's land. And unfortunately, we don't have this ramp up schedule this year. We've got another tough road game next week against Nebraska, another one in 2 weeks against USC. So at this point, I just think we're a middling team. I think Oklahoma will finish 4th or 5th in the SEC, probably at best, with their schedule. I think we're just kind of a middling team. And the best you can hope for, I think, is that you develop Bryce enough that we can spoil you all season again at the end of the year. But I think that's going to take some convincing. I think Sherone is going to take some convincing. He's still maintaining you have to have 2 quarterbacks to run. Do you know who the backup quarterback is for the Buffalo Bills or Baltimore Ravens offhand? Because they ran the poop out of the ball with their quarterbacks on Monday night with 17 weeks more to come. It's just kind of this very hubristic mixture, old Michigan, of hubris but fear at the same time. Anyway, I'll just stop mumbling and let you take over, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, Steve, I got to say that while I hate missing a prediction, I take great pride in my prediction record. I enjoyed watching that game on Saturday night, 24-14 against the spread. But while I was completely wrong, dead wrong on one end of the spectrum about this, you were completely dead right. Our assessment of this going in were at somewhat polar opposites in regards to it being a decent game, but that I was viewing Michigan's superiority on the offensive line and defensive front to be the deciding factor, run game supporting Bryce Underwood, and you were on the opposite end of the spectrum in regards to what Oklahoma was going to be able to do at home, and Brent Venables scheming up a defense for Bryce Underwood. So let's start with where you were in terms of a physical beatdown. Yeah, I did the same thing. I was scanning games through my memory thinking, when is the last time Michigan got beat up? I got to the Georgia playoff game in 20.
That's a good one. I forgot about that one. There you go. Yes, right there.
That's where I landed on that one. And maybe Sparty did a decent job with Kenneth Walker that same season of staying in the game. from that standpoint. But wow, that was difficult to take, considering a 75-yard touchdown run, which it was a well-designed play. Obviously, the back, Justice Haynes, saw a cutback lane. The safety didn't fill the gap, and he's gone. And you got one 75-yard run. And then, as you mentioned, the other red zone opportunities for Michigan were off Oklahoma mistakes or a Donovan McCulley miracle play that was well done. When they had receivers, whether they were tight ends or wide receivers, on about 5 plays, and I went back through all of Bryce Underwood's throws, I saw him miss 9 throws is what I came up with, and 3 drops. But they did design a few plays where they had guys open, Channing Goodwin in particular open downfield. But in terms of it being a cohesive offense to where you understood what they were doing, I get lost between what is Michigan's identity, what has it been in the past, which if you listen to Sherone Moore during the offseason and the previous offseason, it seemed to be, we're going to be traditional Michigan, but we want to be explosive. And, you know, when you execute, like Vince Lombardi once said, and of course was able to run the same power sweep to the left and to the right over and over and over, that if you execute, it looks pretty and it can be somewhat predictable. But, and I know Michigan fans took a lot of delight and a lot of pride in running the ball. What was it, 32 consecutive times against Penn State? So if that doesn't work and that team doesn't execute, then we walk away with the same type of analysis that, well, this team plays scared and they don't want to throw the football. And therefore I get caught between this. What is Michigan's identity? Was Sherone Moore trying to stay with what Michigan football is and bringing along a young quarterback? Or is that playing scared? When you're at 3rd and 6 in the opponent's red zone and you run the ball, how many times are you going to get it against an Oklahoma defense on 3rd and 6 running the ball? Maybe 10 to 15% of the time. So you're basically setting up 4th down.
Yep.
But then they kick the field goal on 4th down. They had a series in their own end of the field in which they didn't even try. I know what series you're talking about. They literally did not even try. And then they should have just punted on 1st down. Should have just pooch punted with Bryce on 1st down and just shocked Oklahoma. It was a possession where we didn't even try. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I get lost between the Michigan identity that there's so much pride in, and when it works and when it's executed and when the offensive line is the better than the defensive line, which has been the case for the last 4 years, 99% of the time, then it gets interpreted as Michigan football. But when it doesn't work and the athletes aren't able to move the people up front, then it seems like this mess of an offense.
So with the state of the offense, and I think we already have more big plays than we had all of last year already in 2 games. Okay, so it's better, but that doesn't mean it's good. Defensively, I think they're pretty good. I just don't think they're special. And I think if your offense is going to struggle like this, you're going to have to be special on defense. You can't just be, hey, we're pretty good, and against high-end competition, we'll only give up 21 or 24 points a game, which in today's college football is good. But with this identity crisis that Michigan has going on offense, that's just not going to cut it. The margin for error gets very slim. And, John Mateer, I did think about who on our schedule the rest of the year are we going to face with that skill set? And the only one I could come up with that's kind of a poor man's version of him is Aiden Childs at Michigan State. That's not who Julian Sayin is. That's not who Jade Maiava is. That's not who Dylan Raiola is. No, neither Maiava or Raiola are statues, but they're not that. They're not. I mean, he must have done this a half dozen times, Mark. Take the snap, almost like an old triple option play where the quarterback is going down the line like he's going to pitch it and then backs out and throws it over your head. It was kind of a variation of that. He did this about a half dozen times where he took a drop back. He went into a drop back, and then we figured, okay, it's a pass. We drop back, and then he still has the athleticism to then run it and still get, in many cases, huge chunks. It was almost like a flag football play where you just let everybody kind of run down there and then you hand it off to a guy and let him take off with it. He must have burned us with that a half dozen times. Maiava and Raiola are not statues, but they're not that. They don't do that. So if you're looking for any kind of silver lining defensively, I guess you could say that I, with the exception of the guy at Michigan State, there's just not a quarterback on our schedule that has the combination of skill set and receivers to boot that he comes with. But I think they'll be okay over there. There's maybe still a chance they could be great by the end of the year. But for this team to hit its goals, it's got to fix its offense. And to me, there's a philosophical decision that's going to have to be made. And that philosophical decision is, and they both involve the same choice. It's just a matter of which choice Michigan prefers to make, or it can even do a little bit of both. But it has to make Bryce more of a focal point of the offense. It's just going to have to. Because we don't have the numbers against the teams that we really want to beat on our schedule. We don't have the offensive line to just block those kinds of boxes with those kinds of numbers. And so that's going to require either A, making Bryce more of the running game to even up the numbers, to have an extra blocker in there. So now we have the advantage with him as the threat to run the football, or B, they're going to need to let him throw the football down the field more often in order to see if teams can get punished, because everybody now is going to try to play this 46 style of defense that Venables played, and props to him for playing it. He basically gambled that Michigan either wouldn't or couldn't execute to force them out of that and get them to back off. And the answer to both options was yes, they wouldn't do it, and they weren't willing to do it. I think, hold on, it's been 10 minutes. I think Bryce Underwood just play action to nobody. If you saw that a half dozen times, that he was faking to somebody who was not there. That happens so often. I have to think that's actually a play design, which means it sucks. So just the entire structure of everything, it was kind of a Frankenstein, a goulash. All right, and we're just going to take a couple things here or there. And when things get bad, Sherone kind of takes over the reins. Here's the reality of Michigan football. When you pay Tim, this is professional football now. It's not college football. The team, get out of here with that. That's just not who we are anymore. This is the NFL now. Everybody's really good now. The talent is very spread out now amongst the top teams. And so what do you see in the NFL, Mark? Whoever's quarterback plays the best every Sunday wins almost every single game. The idea that you can just line up and physically, there's a few teams in the league and dominate the Saints, probably dominate a few other teams. But if you're a top 15, 20 team in the NFL, your game's going to get decided by which quarterback plays best. And in these games, that's what's going to happen now in college football. If Michigan did not want to play this way, then go get Miller Moss, to spend $2-3 million getting him. Go spend another $5 million on upgrading the offensive line and play your stuff, and just have a more arm talented version of Jake Rudock, Cade McNamara, and do your Michigan thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to spend $10 million for Bryce Underwood, and everybody's going to know you're going to do it, then you have to develop this system. You have to. Sherone's entire program is in the hands of Bryce Underwood. I would argue, Mark, we are better off going 5-7, but creating an offense that we can then turn right around and sell to recruits and the portal. See, we told you we're doing the thing we promised you. We're better off doing that than slugging our way to 7-5, 8-4 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl with just a bunch of these grinder games. I think that is a death knell. I think that's a great way to find out just how locked down Bryce Underwood's contract is in about 5 months. You signed the kid. You moved heaven and earth to get him. You must give him an offense then that makes what you did just understandable. It confirms why you did what you did. You broke the mold. Michigan chose to go outside of its culture and its normal way of doing things to bring that kid in. Well, then you have to go outside your culture and normal way of doing things to give that kid the off. You thought he was worth going outside your system to do it. Then you've got to go outside your system to give him one to show that, Mark.
Well, I think the success at the end of last season against Ohio State in particular, and also against Alabama, may have cost Sherone Moore in this game, because it appeared as though he was coaching, not just scared. Again, I think there is some identity there, and his recent identity and his two biggest wins are rely solely on a defense and just hope something. Khalil Mullings breaks one. USC, Ohio State, Khalil Mullings breaks one. Or we get a quarterback scramble, or Donovan McCulley makes that kind of catch again. Something happens, or the defense is able to make a big play, and we are able to escape 17-14 or 20-17. But yeah, that is not a way to approach college football in 2025. This offense certainly doesn't have a screen game. Those are some of the ugliest screen passes I've ever seen in my life, whether it's not blocking the safety. It's
because Jimmy hated them. We never ran them the entire time it was here. Chip Lindsey's big on it, so we're trying to become a screen team in one off season, basically. And yes, it's been fugly. Correct.
And can Chip Lindsey develop quarterbacks? It's one thing to run an offense and call plays and create the scheme. It's another thing to develop this guy that you've got at quarterback that you're going to build a program around.
So moving forward, the Central Michigan game is a complete nothing. It doesn't matter if Michigan wins 62-0. People are just going to look at the tape of that and say, hey, we saw what you did against a real opponent that counts, so we're going to play you like this moving forward. It's essentially the Mark D'Antonio 2009 Michigan, or 2013 Michigan State. That's how he used to play us until Jimmy came along. So that's essentially what it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be every linebacker is coming downhill on every snap to fill a run gap. And you're going to have to show us, that we're going to get reversed Don Brown. We're going to be on the other end of it now until you show us that you can complete passes consistently downfield, or with man-to-man coverage, or you're going to let him run. So he breaks big plays with our DBs backs to the ball down the field playing man. Until Michigan does that against a team that matters, this is the system we're going to see. So I'm not really sure what value this upcoming game has at all, except you just hope nobody gets hurt, because anything good we put on film is not going to change what Nebraska is going to think at all. They're going to come right back with the Oklahoma game plan, and frankly, Central Michigan can't simulate that. They don't have close to the athletes.
Well, we've had other early season debacles from other championship teams. So again, I am not predicting Michigan to win the Big Ten championship. I did predict them to go to the playoff, somewhat regretting that at this point, but I am not a big believer in a one game evaluation of a team. We can go back to Ohio State in 2014 and numerous other examples. And Chip Lindsey, we know that this guy knows how to run an offense. He's done.
Will he be allowed to run an offense? Yes. Is the question, Mark. Yeah.
And yes, Sherone Moore is not Ryan Day in running an offense if he wants to take it out of his OC's hands. Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, one of the reasons we're in this position with our offensive line is because at the time he was running its recruiting, those classes sucked. And some of it wasn't his fault. We're doing the stupid transformational, not transactional crap as an excuse for not paying kids when everybody else was. All right. But, we also did not do a good job of player development and, for those couple of years. So we're kind of caught now. And you're seeing that. We're likely looking at starting an FCS kid and a Division III kid in the offensive line against Central Michigan. So there you go. Good to see you, my friend. Talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thanks.
You bet. This week's X-Poll results, your mood after getting bullied by Oklahoma. 56% of you said season on the brink. 44% of you said it was just one game. We shall see. That brings us to our feedback of the week from Hayden Brooks, who says, listen, man, I love you. You're a godly man. I love you regardless of your fandom, but why are you always so quick to be so negative? I almost think it's a character for viewership, not hating. I'm a big fan of your pod and Bigger Ten, but I think I feel better about this team than when they played Texas. So, Aaron, I hate to, I always plan to do this, but I wasn't going to tell you in advance because I just wanted to get your off-the-cuff answer. All right.
Oh, I was hoping you would involve me.
Okay, so just to clarify this once and for all, the instant nihilism, the instant Chicken Little, the instant put me out of my misery at the first sign of adversity, is that an act, Aaron?
Oh, no, it's not.
No. I wish I could tell you guys it is.
I don't think it's too big of a stretch to say that, and I think you would agree with this as well, on any given Saturday through the football season, you could be diagnosed with generalized psychosis, probably.
1,000%. My wife's a therapist, 100%. Yes. I mean, I'm really just that soft, and I'm really just that shallow.
Sometimes
I wish I could tell you it was an act. No, I'm really just that terrible of a person.
Dude,
it's not an act at all.
Sometimes you've got bangers, though. I mean, there was one that made me laugh out loud last Saturday night. The one where you said the safeties were flying in like the kids on weapons. The mental image.
That's what they look like. Go watch the film of Michigan safeties coming off the edge, free and clear with the quarterback, and that's what they went in, and he just shook them off every single time. That's what it looked like. All right. So no, that's just my pain. It's my lament, and I wish I could say that it was just all a shtick. It's not. I'm just that terrible. It's true. That'll do it for this week's episode of Michigan Podcast. Don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, share, 5-star review. Especially you Bucknuts hate watching. You guys are going to drive up our views this week, and we greatly appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you for that. So you guys make sure you do it too. And you can also follow us in between episodes where I will again vent my spleen at the first sign of adversity and threaten to tap out right as rain on my X account at Michigan Podcast on X. Until the next time, I'm Steve Deace. Go Blue.